Since the preliminary task, I have learnt many things in progression to the main task. Firstly, in the preliminary task, I had to work as part of a group to complete the task, preparing myself for the group work that would be essential in the completion of the main task. In this group, we had to create a piece that demonstrated continuity techniques, such as match on action, shot reverse shot, and the 180-degree rule. This informed me in the importance of continuity for my opening sequence to my thriller, and gave me knowledge of when to use specific or ambitious shots. For instance, in the preliminary task, we observed continuity errors such as seeing some props in the shot, resulting in more attention to detail being paid to small details when making the actual opening sequence. For example, when we were filming the street section of our opening sequence, a car parked on the side of the road, so we had to adapt the camera position so that the car was not included in the shot, as this would have been a continuity error. For the preliminary task, very little research was carried out, and characters and plot were thought of almost spontaneously. For the real task, I did much more research into all aspects of openings of a thriller film, including use of mise-en-scène, locations, characters, costumes, and lighting. In the preliminary task, we used simple locations within the college during the day, but for the real task we explored several different locations at different times of the day to make our piece more realistic. Casting actors was thought about as well, with us using older actors to give our film more credibility than if it were just ourselves in the film. And we had to come up with a more sustained, detailed plot, developing creative skills and then carrying out these ideas. Character development has improved also, with the characters from the preliminary task having no depth to them, to creating two characters that are very complicated, with troubled past and context, and unique costumes to enhance the effectiveness of our sequence, such as the costume of Charlotte Adams. We couldn't utilise a complicated plot in the preliminary task due to a lack of planning and a lack of experience, but after practice we felt confident enough to create a complex sequence for the main task. The task also allowed for improvements in time management and planning. We had to organise all aspects of planning, filming and construction to be done on certain days. We did this by using schedules in order to meet our deadlines, which we did well, and we kept to all of our deadlines. I have also improved my knowledge of editing and the editing software Final Cut. In the preliminary task, we had to resolve a continuity error by flipping the orientation of a shot through editing, improving my knowledge of the software, and allowing me to carry on these learnt skills in the construction of the real task. Furthermore, I have utilised skills involving sound and using an appropriate soundtrack. In the preliminary task, little thought went into the soundtrack, but for the main task, each scene had an atmosphere that needed to be created through the score, which I created using Audacity and other music production software, by changing the tempo, key, length, volume, and many other aspects of sound in order to match the scene. I have also learnt about the importance of lighting in some shots. Some shots we filmed for the actual piece were too dark, so we had to reshoot them or edit them in the editing to make them more appropriate for use, something we didn't have to consider during the preliminary task due to filming in bright locations. Lastly, we used very basic titles in the preliminary task when the characters spoke, and since my knowledge of inserting appropriate titles has progressed, so that the titles appeared aesthetically in my main piece. Overall, I feel the preliminary task has given me knowledge as to when to utilise particular aspects of film effectively, such as the ones discussed, and has taught me that each particular aspect is very time-consuming, and hence using time effectively was something that was a priority. We used iMovie to edit the preliminary task, but used other software such as Final Cut for the main task, as it was faster, easier, and allowed for the use of other effects. During filming, we created contingency dates so that if we needed to redo any scenes due to weather or lighting, or we couldn't film for whatever circumstance, we would still be able to get the required footage, and we allowed for extra time when filming so that we could get all the shots we needed.